Moving on to item number 16, request the Sutter County Local Agency Formation Commission, that's Sutter LAFCO, to begin proceedings for the proposed annexation of the unincorporated portion of South Yuba City into the city, presented by Mr. Darren Gale, our Economic Growth and Public Affairs Manager.
Good evening, Mayor Buckland and council members. It's a pleasure to be before you this evening. I am the project manager on the annexation process. For those that are watching or for those here, if you have any questions, if you provide them to me, we will send them out to the appropriate departments, and they can get whatever information. They'll respond, and then we'll get it out. We'll also add it to our frequently asked questions. If one person asks the question, probably multiple people have it. We'll continue to update our information handout, and we'll make sure and keep that online. My email is dgale@yubacity.net, and the best way of reaching me is my cell phone, 530-953-6886. I will also make sure that's on all of our printed documentation. And as was mentioned, we would love to hold as many neighborhood meetings as the residents of this area want. Those meetings will be attended by your executive team members and key staff within departments. There's no additional cost to the residents. These are all salaries employees that will be attending these events from, like I said, our department heads, city manager, myself, and other key members, managers within the departments. What I'm here for you this evening is the resolution of intent. An annexation process is not a simple process that just kind of makes sense, in my opinion. It's difficult. First, there's this organization called LAFCO. Sutter County LAFCO, or the Local Agency Formation Commission. There's a state law that they meet on a regular basis and includes all the jurisdictions and a special district and a citizen member. They will determine if the council approves the resolution of intent tonight, they will determine if this process moves forward. What is that process? So the first is you have to have your pre-annexation zoning done. Honestly, our pre-annexation zoning should have been done immediately after the general plan was adopted. And I'm sure sometime in the future, as Arnaldo has plenty of projects to work on, but there's other areas within the sphere of influence that pre-annexation zoning will move forward sometime, separate from a LAFCO process. Once an application is filed with LAFCO, there are multiple meetings at LAFCO where they make a determination. First, they have 30 days once they receive an application to determine it complete. At that time, they will set a public hearing. They will hold a public hearing and tell people you have 30 days to contest this LAFCO proceedings if they approve it. At any time during that point, a resident can file an application to say, you know what, I contest this. Once again, they will go another 30 days to allow people to comment and contest the LAFCO process. At the end of that process of them just having meetings saying, hey, should this move forward? Does this meet the state law for annexations? Once they've gone through that, and if they approve it, they will set what is called a protest hearing. And a protest hearing will actually occur. And all residents, all property owners will be mailed, and they will be given 45 days to contest the annexation. And I think, to be clear, most of the council members have used the word vote. In the law, what it states is that this is a protest hearing. During that time, residents can sign letters. They can collect signatures of either registered voters or property owners. At the end of that 45 days, if 25% of either the registered voters, they're one group, or the property owners, a separate group, if more than 25% contest, this will go to a ballot box vote. This would go to an actual election where registered voters would then have the opportunity to vote yes or no. And that's what occurred 14 years ago. It actually went to a vote, and those people that voted declined the annexation, and of course it did not move forward. Taking a step back before the vote, if less than 25 of registered voters or property owners, if less than 25% of them contest, the annexation is then approved. We assume, based upon the information that Sutter County LAFCO has provided us, that the protest hearing will be in the September to October timeframe. That's if literally we submit next week, and then they go through the legal proceedings of how many days. It might take them a little bit longer. It could be pushed off. They said it might be a little bit earlier, but no earlier than September. Mr. Rodriguez already talked about the area. I did want to talk a little bit about some frequently asked questions. First, taxes. Taxes do not go up. In order for the council to actually pass an actual tax, it has to go to a vote of the people. The people that live within this area do not vote on city taxes. If the council did decide to move forward with the sales tax for whatever reason, residents within this area do not vote. They do pay it because you pay at the point of sale. So when you go to Rayleigh's or Costco or Winco, you hear that, Costco, hopefully soon, Winco, that you pay the sales tax based upon the adopted rate by that jurisdiction. This area does not vote as relates to that. Sewer and water connection. There is no one. Well, first I'll hit the sewer one. There is no difference from the person being in the city or the county. A sewer is regulated by the Environmental Health Department, and they follow a code set by the state. And that currently the state's plumbing code states that if you live within 200 feet of an existing sewer line and either your septic tank fails or you do not currently have a septic tank, you will be required to connect into a city sewer system. I'm going to skip forward to a couple maps. No, oops, could you go back one? So there's 1,400 lots within the city. We went ahead and had our GIS programmer go through and determine. If I went too far, so it's a little difficult to see since it's in light blue. The light blue are the actual parcels that currently live within 200 feet of an existing sewer line. These are the only people that would be required to connect into a sewer line if their septic tank failed or if they decided to develop their parcels. But once again, it does not matter if they're in the city or in the county. It remains the same. The state or the state has regulations, and the county implements those regulations through the plumbing code. The county could adopt stricter ordinances, but really that is a county issue. Let me go back. Water connection, same thing. People can continue to use their well systems. If they do want to come in and connect to a city water or city sewer, there are fees associated with that, but that is something they have to agree to do themselves. A marijuana ordinance. Since this issue's been, since the annexation has been discussed, it's been brought up, what's the difference in the city and the county ordinance? The county actually recently adopted almost the exact same ordinance as the city. The only difference is the city has a 500-foot a restriction from certain public facilities. The county has 1,000-foot restriction. If that was an issue for residents, we could always bring back to the council an overlay for this area so that the ordinance was the same within this area. And we can do that with any ordinance. Code enforcement. Yes, the city does actively enforce code enforcement. Most of the time it is we are reactive to complaints that do come in. Public safety. This is fully funded through the city's general fund. If this area was to be annexed and the city was to create a Beat 6, there will be 6 new police staff that would be hired, if I remember correct, or is it 6?
Correct.
So 4 sworn officers, a community service officer, and 1 dispatch. Is that correct?
A point of clarification, I believe there are 6 sworn officers, a dispatcher, and a community service officer. Or there might be there might be a total of 7 with 5 sworn Yes, 5 sworn, 1 dispatch, 1 CSO.
Those will all be paid out of the general fund. As part of this resolution of intent, it does talk about a physical impact to the city. There is an additional $200,000 annually that it would cost the city to provide services, and it comes from the police services. So it doesn't cover all the transfer of property and sales tax over, but it is very efficient in providing additional police services. Business licenses, yes, a business license is required. However, I would tell you there are a significant amount of businesses already within the area that have a business license. That's because we're the only jurisdiction within the region to have a business license. Alarm permits, I think the mayor spoke about that. Burn piles, the rules are exactly the same, and for being in the city or the county, I've discussed it with our fire marshal. This is part of Community Service Area G, and he assured me that it's exactly the same as the city. A couple other just clarifying, a question was brought up related to garbage service. The county does not have a mandatory garbage service requirement. We have reached out to Recology recently and asked them to provide us a list of any properties that currently do not receive garbage service from Recology. They said it was less than a handful. There are some undeveloped parcels that do not, but of the developed, they said there was less than a handful that would be affected. At this time, I can answer any questions that you might have. Again, we would request all residents within this area to let us know. We'd love to have a neighborhood meeting in their driveway, in their front yards, in their backyards. And one thing I did want to mention is one of the residents at the last meeting brought up an issue with St. Isidore's. Arnaldo Rodriguez was able to reach out to St. Isidore's. They had a condition on their project that required them to lock gates on the fronts of their facility, basically when they close. They have not been following that. Our police department made sure and kind of checked it out to make sure if that was or was not happening. Mr. Rodriguez was able to speak with them, sent them a letter, and they have agreed to begin locking those gates. I drove by on I think Saturday evening, and they were locked. So we'll plan on continuing to look at that, and we appreciate when residents bring an issue up to us that we can actually go out and identify an issue that we can deal with. So I appreciate that and apologize that it occurred. But as soon as we found out there was an issue, we reached out to the church, and they were very willing to step up and do what they need to do.
Any questions of Mr. Gale at this time from members of council?
No questions, but just a quick comment. On those gates, though, there's a special lock that it's actually called a fire lock, to where the fire can get in there at any time, firemen, and that was also part of the discussion I had with probably the same person you have that reached out to me that said that they would be seeking to put more of a chain link fence up, very secure, with a fire lock on it. So it would be much more secure.
Any other comments? I'm gonna allow the public to speak. I'm just for clarification purposes from members of the council at this point.
Through the mayor, I just have one. You have the last point there was on voting. You didn't address that. If you could address that, please.
So it was one of the issues that I brought up is these residents do not vote for the city elected officials, which currently provide them fire service and water service. Also, as mentioned, if there was ever any type of tax increase within the city, these residents do not vote for it. However, they would still pay it because the majority of services provided in Sutter County are all done within the incorporated city. The only change, the only caveat to that is vehicle sales. You're charged the tax based upon where you live. That's the only difference statewide as it relates to sales tax. Otherwise, you pay a point of sale sales tax.
All right. All right, this time I'm going to open it to members of the public that wish to speak to this matter. If you would like? What? I'm going to have you go up to Mr. Dias, I'll have you go up to the podium and
Rick Dice. I'm pretty familiar with the LAFCO process. Darren, you said the protest period would be 45 days? State law is a minimum 21 and a maximum 60. And all the annexations of the past, LAFCO's only granted 21 days. So I'm assuming it's going to be a 21-day period now too. So.
I believe that on the paper that we were provided by LAFCO, it said 45 days, but I can look that up to make sure. We do not set that. LAFCO will be the one who sets that. So if it's 21 to 60, you said? So I will follow up with LAFCO and find out when that determination's made and how long that will be.
again, openness of the process and availability of time, I think is critical for individuals to be able to make a decision. So any other members of the public wish to speak to this? If not, bring it back to council for action.
To the mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt staff's recommendation.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you very much.